Right, welcome everybody. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. We are wheels up. It is going to be our Tuesday SITREP for 5/11/2021, and it's about 2:30 p.m. So I appreciate you guys giving me a little grace on that delay. I had weather move in and a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, and it would have been probably interrupted just because of that rumbling. So, but without further ado, monkeys in the chat. When you guys, when I'm done with this, I'll send us off, and if you guys want to hang tight, I'll hang with you a little bit in the chat room. So, all right. So without further ado, let's get on over to our business of the day. We are sitting up, let's see here real fast, about 227, which is actually a little lower than usual. Maybe because we've had this large weather just move through the middle of the state, and we typically get a sea of trainers in this general area. And so that may be affecting a little bit of our number. And so, but that said, one thing I do want to do before we get cranking out here, I want to give a quick shout out. Tim over at Sugar Creek Forge actually sent me this knife. This is actually Damascus steel, and I just want to say thank you. This is not a paid advertisement by any means, but you know, somebody. That kind of work takes a lot of time to do, and he did an amazing job. And Damascus steel is pretty rare. It's hard to work with, and it's one of the hardest steels out there, I believe. And so, anyway, so he sent me that. I just wanted to give him a shout out and say thank you. So that's Tim over at Sugar Creek Forge. So when Father's Day comes up, you may want to look at some of his stuff because he makes an amazing product. So anyway, like I said, not a paid advertisement. Just wanted to put that out there because you know, anytime you got brothers in Christ that do something for you, free 90 free, and send you stuff, it's always much appreciated. So, hey, that on the other note too, speaking of Christ, I wanted to put out there, I've been talking a little bit about Bard's Fest. Bear in the chat can also talk to you, Bear Arms, a little bit more about that because he knows more than I do. But I've mentioned it a couple times. So there's going to be a festival in August in Missouri that Bards FM is going to be putting on, and it's basically going to be I think it's a revival style format. So it's going to be at a big arena in August, and so I don't have all the details on it. I just know that it's in the planning and works right now, and so and I know he's going to get some pretty cool guest speakers and things there, and should be pretty awesome. So yeah, just be looking for that. If you guys follow Bards, I'm sure you'll be hearing him talk about it too. So okay, back to where I was. So. All right, so yeah, a little lighter than usual, but as we kind of get into it, I was looking at, we've got this one little aircraft up that caught my eye earlier, and only because it's a little PC-12, and I wanted to kind of give you an idea what these things really look like. Now, this is U.S. Air Force PC-12, okay? They do not all have crazy equipment on them. Some of them do, some of them don't, but these are kind of like, just like when we look at certain types of aircraft, or helicopters that are kind of the go-to for police departments. Like, you know, if you look at PDs, they are either all Ford Explorers or Ford product. And then if you look at a lot of the agencies, they all kind of lean towards the same type of aircraft. And the reason they do that is because it is, from a logistics and supply chain standpoint, you don't have to stock all kinds of different materials like you know, spare tires and things like that. To keep these things flying, and so when they just buy one type, then they can just streamline what they have to buy and what they have to carry, and not a sea of inventory. So that's why I want to point that out. But that's what those birds look like from a military perspective. A little bit different on the commercial side, but you can see that one look pretty beefed up. And he's down here in the actual Panhandle area doing some laps. So that looks to be some training, if I had to guess on it. But is flying by Slayer 35. You can see we got this nasty weather kind of rolling in there right now. So I imagine all these helos and guys are going to be landing here pretty quickly. So again, these are all trainers, and same thing up here in that Alabama area. So we do have a B703. As you guys know, that's a Joint Star. And of course, this area rolling off the coast. Now, we've been talking a lot about surveillance, and I'm going to go into surveillance even more today because I really want to bring attention to what is being done out there and the capabilities that they have, because it is there are no secrets. I can tell you that right now. If these folks want to set you up or they want to pull information on you, they can do it, and they do it freely, and there ain't nobody stopping them. Okay. And so this one, if you notice, this is West Palm Beach. Now the range on these things, if they're using something like a dirt box, my understanding is they got about a 20-mile range. So if you were to just kind of go off the coast, that's certainly within the range. This is certainly within the range. Okay. So a bird like that off the coast is gathering quite a bit of data here if they're running surveillance stuff. Those little joint stars got a lot of capability. Again, we've done a little research on that, but when you see them out here hanging, that's always suspect. Okay. Now, the other piece too that I will tell you, I've heard that Trump is not down here in West Palm Beach. Somebody said he's in New Jersey. I've heard that from several people, that he's actually been sighted up there. So if he's down here and this is going on, then we probably know why this is going on. Okay. But keep in mind, his family is also down here. All right. And so they don't all just like travel on a bus or a plane all together. They probably split up. Okay. And so that's going to be a priority air transport. Looks like it's coming out of Miami. This is another little, also, that's actually not listed as a PAT aircraft, but, and then we've got this one here. Now that is a Colombian military, which I find interesting, and looks to be coming out of the DC metro area right here, headed southbound. So, but yeah, so you've got a Colombian little jet rolling down. So there's a picture of that bad mamma jammer. And that's what they call an Embraer 135 BJ. It's a Legacy 600 aircraft. And so it's very similar to Gulfstream. It's got the nice little winglets. It's a pretty nice aircraft. And so no telling who's on that. But you know, just data point again. All right. Now let's get up over DC. I'm going to see if we still have any aircraft flying cap over that general area. Now, for the last couple of days throughout the weekend, we had a tanker doing some fly around in the general area of DC, which would indicate we had pilots. Yeah, of course we have pilots because they're aircraft. That we have fighters up. Okay, I'm not seeing that yet today. Doesn't mean they haven't been up there, but my understanding was that we've had a lot of fighter activity over the DC Metroplex for about a week now. Okay. So when you get these tankers that are just outside the range, like these, that's a P8 actually, C-130, but here's E6. So that's a looking glass out over the water, over the coast. I actually don't see any tankers up. That's strange. Normally I will see some tanker within these general radius areas that are feeding this area. So they come out of the CAP area, which is CAP, Combat Air Patrol. Okay, so they'll come out of that and they'll do a little refueling and then go back in. And I don't see any tankers, which is very, very unusual because I normally do see them in here. So I thought for sure that was one. But that German military looks to be heading into DC. So that's going to be an Airbus. And I don't have any other information other than just what we're showing right here. So not too much on that one. But so we got Colombian military headed in. We got German military headed in, all to DC. Definitely something going on here. B-52 looks like that thing has been doing some flying around, rolled out of Barksdale Air Force Base and is just kind of over the general area here in the southeast. Altitude is about 8,800 feet, 376 knots, so he's just kind of chilling out there. Nothing to see. All right. Let me just double check here. Again, no. This is so strange not to see any tankers over that general area. Like you normally, everything you click on is tankers and nothing today. So, okay, well, it is what it is, I guess. The other watch area, let's get over here, over Arizona. I just want to see if we've got anything going on here that is suspect. Now, this area right here, this is going to be, Phoenix is where our audit is going on. That's where it's taking place. And so it looks like we've got these little BE-40s that are up. Let me see if we got any calls. So that's a Jayhawk and it's a T-1A. So these are trainers flying around right here. So looks like we got 3 trainers up. So nothing to see there. That's going to be H-60. Looks like it's just been doing the usual stuff, rolling out of Scottsdale. And not too much. We got the Reach coming across. Looks like that probably came out of Charlotte. No, Savannah. All right, so out of Savannah. And headed in, looks like altitude 38,000. So he's pretty leveled off. It's probably headed into here, into California, if I had to guess. And then this one just looks like he's on a climb out, reach 557, and that one is at 30,000 feet and climbing. So down here, Southern Cal in the usual. Got some H-60s on the border. That's a trainer. Gonna be 737 Navy bird on ground and just disappeared off ground. H-60, and then that is a V-22 Osprey that looks like he's been doing some stuff here too. So, okay, let me back out of this. We'll start getting across into our aircraft that we've been watching. And let me see who that is flying down here into Guatemala, Portugal. Interesting. That dude came straight down. All right. All right. The world's moving like nobody's business right now. It's a lot going on, especially over in Israel. So we'll kind of look at that here in a minute, see if we've got any kind of activity happening from that standpoint. So the other thing I did want to do very quickly, I get this probably 10 times a day, people asking about my intro music. And this is a dude named Carlos Estella. And he is, you can find his music over here on, let's see, this is going to be the Audio Jungle. This is a link that he actually sent me. And so I've put this down in the description box on YouTube. So if you want to go find him on YouTube, I've got a link there as well as his stuff. But again, this is what I get asked this, like I said, at least 10 times. I mean, like a week easily. And so anyway, I just want to put that in there so people can find it. If you want to download it, great. If you just want to know where to get it or whatever, that's fine. He also has it over on YouTube if you just want to listen to it. He doesn't name his stuff like most artists. You can see the name of this one. It's so anyway, but yeah, this is where you get it. Links down in there, and there you have it. So I just want to put that out there. All right, now let's get back into the SITREP stuff. Sorry, I had that on my tab, and I was going to talk about that when I started talking about Sugar Creek real fast, just to get the admin stuff going and done. So, all right, active volcanoes. We got Ducono, which is going to be still spewing. That thing's been going pretty well now for a while. And let's see here, and then we've got these are also the same ones been going. So we're actually down. We're only showing 4 right now spewing ash, which is 3 down from just a couple days ago. So it seems to be kind of mellowing out a little bit right now. And these are your Google balloons. And part of some of that technology that we're going to be discussing, I think ties into this. Even though they don't admit it, I do believe it does, just because some of the research and data that I found relative to them experimenting with the balloons. And it all came around about the same time. So, all right, we look at Flashbang Schedule. He is going to be hanging tight today. So it looks like another full day. Starting at 9:30 and then 11:30 p.m. So there must be a nap somewhere in here. Got to be. But it looks like he's meeting with a group of governors. So let's see. I'm not really seeing any else on that. He's certainly not with the VP. And again, no travel. So don't see anything there. And if I'm looking at the schedules, it would also kind of say that there's not too much travel going on from that aspect. If I look at the TFRs. And so with that said, we'll bump over there. So this is the storm just rolled through here. Lots of lightning. It was pretty interesting. So to say the least, I got to fire things up. I'm going to bump these down, but I just want to show you some of the Phoenix area and all the fires that are breaking loose out here in Arizona right now. We really want to watch for them on this side because the usually wind directions are taking it west to east. So, but those are currently being mapped, and then of course California, like always, has got some type of fire going on. So let me get down here and shut that off. And then as we get into TFRs, let's go ahead and just take a look. I think these are fire-related hazards. Yeah, it's a fire TFR. Same with this one. That's a fire TFR. So those are related to the fires that we were just looking at. Disney West. This is going to be your stuff down south on the border. Same thing here. Not seeing too much. This San Angelo, that's kind of a permanent one, just like GW Bush and Disney and the Brown Zone. They all have them. And then these are over. There's one here. You can't see the other one right now. It's up under Dallas, but out here, these are going to be immigration processing centers through FEMA. And these right here, this is going to be a search and rescue that's still ongoing off of the coast there. And that's been there for about 2 weeks. Air show, another air show, Ditney. And then these are air shows as well. As we get up here in the north, you still got the regular standing over the brown. This is the brown zone over the senior living center. And then these, that one's actually going to be security. Don't know what it's related to. Same thing with that one. And out west, man, I want to say that is, let me just double check. Yeah, air show. Again, it's the season for air shows. So that's going to be our TFRs for today. Not seeing anything new. So it looks like both Bob Marley and Flashbang are kind of sitting tight right now. Okay. All right. Minimize that. Let's get over here. So let's talk helos for a second. Now, somebody did actually share with me some of the information. There is another bird that we didn't have on our flight list. It's now down on the tracker list for us to watch. But N33PP, that's a new one. So we've been watching 22, 11, 22, and 33 PP. Those are the numbers, and I think there's a 44. So there seems to be some the way they're numbering these, that may give us an indication on how we need to keep looking, because there's that the gap in there. So, but this one is a actually flying right now currently over Washington D.C. and again, these are tied to the Department of Interior, and that's going to be Park Police. It looks like they're just doing the regular security watch. This one was yesterday. You can see same thing. They're just kind of bugging in. Very, if you notice, they're watching the waterways very closely, which is kind of interesting. That tells you that there is a pretty big concern of people getting in here, not on the actual roadways, but through waterways. So, Club K's, I'm telling you. All right, here's N22P. PP, and same thing. This guy's going to just be doing surveillance. It looks like they're just doing what we would normally expect them to do. Okay, so again here, now this one here was a day ago, and the one I just showed you is actually kind of tighten in here 13 hours ago. So that's another flight. All right, our sniffer 411DE. That bad dude has not flown in about 5 days. Last time it was seen, it was over in Jersey. And if we're looking at Jersey, we're talking about Trump, right? Remember that he's kind of over in this general area, or not that area, but somewhere here in Jersey. So we do know that if he's not in Florida. So this is the rumor. So maybe that's why they're over here doing stuff. Not totally sure, but if we look at the radar map around the Jersey area, sorry, my screen has gone white. I'm waiting for it to come back. Come on, marinate, baby. Doesn't want to be working for me today. So there we go. Knew eventually it would work. Sorry about that. All right, so we get into the Jersey area, and I'm not seeing much other than some helo activity west between there and Harrisburg. And we do have this E6 that's out here though, and came in squared off over Jersey. Now I don't know if Trump is in South Jersey or north area. But this E6 is out here. Looks like he's doing some routes off the water. And let me see. We got this P8. Now it actually looks like it's coming back into the naval station there. All right. Okay. So back over to the Eurocopters. Since we're talking helos, this is what we currently have going on now. Again, these are like the Ford Explorers for departments. And doesn't necessarily mean there's something 100% going on here, but these are going to be all your Eurocopters that are up right now. Hawaii is popping, and if I had to guess, these are probably tour choppers, and all operated by. I mean, it could be government birds, but more than likely those are just tour flights. They're out there giving people the nickel tour, and border stuff. So that's going to be Border Patrol. Texas Highway Patrol, and so is that with the TX nomenclature at the end, and 329 TX. don't know about that one. But and then some of these, if we get into Arizona, so we'll drill down just a little bit into this general area. That right there is going to be your Phoenix Police Department, and we're going to click on it just because this one has been kind of hanging out around the area, if you notice. Now, I don't have a street map relative to, but that's Deer Valley. That's where they operate out of, okay? And then Phoenix is down here. And so when they're, that's going to be your Sky Harbor Airport right here. And so I want to say the audit location is somewhere like in here. And so these guys are just kind of, looks to be doing quite a bit of search work. But every single day, these guys are doing that. So they actually have a pretty large fleet there in Phoenix. So we'll delve into that again here shortly, go into a little more detail. So, okay, this is going to be all your Coletta flights, and I don't have anything on the docket showing right now. We can, let's take a look at 3-1 and see if we've got any. So that thing hadn't landed. It's down for maintenance. It's up in Oscoda, Michigan. That's going to be their maintenance hub. It came out of Oakland about a week ago. So pretty quiet on that front. And if we go over here to the Atlas Airs, I will tell you we've got birds that just came out of the Middle East. My guess, they were headed into Amsterdam. My guess is that that's going to be troop movement, okay? So those are the ones we're watching for. Really want to see them. Anything going on in this area is going to give us a pretty good indicator if we've got troop activity happening. We also have the daily route from El Paso to Kentucky up there at CVG, which is Cincinnati Airport. That's happening every day, and just back and forth. We've got eyes on the ground in that general area, and I'm trying to see if we can, at a minimum, just get somebody to give us a picture of a bus pulling up when these things land, to see if we're moving cargo or moving people. And that'll be a pretty big indicator if we can get eyes on it. So, but that is where they go. And this is the one we caught earlier. Now, this came out of Kazakhstan and headed into Amsterdam. So my guess is that our troops, those are going to be troops that are being exfilled out of this region and coming home or repositioned somewhere. Okay. So looks to be we're definitely moving out of the region for sure. So I think it's probably a good thing, but that's going to create a vacuum. So now this is the one I was talking about. CVG is the airport, Cincinnati, Kentucky International Airport. And so that's daily run El Paso back and forth. This is all it does, back and forth. So it is a 767, and so it's a pretty large bird. Not sure, it's showing pictures of a DHL, although this thing shows as Atlas, but it could be a subcontracted leg for them. So no telling. But if we got somebody on the ground at this airport that can actually see, or even on this end, and get some pictures as to what we're really looking at to see if we're moving product or if we're moving people. And you see buses roll up with jetways, then you know more than likely they're bringing people off and they're pushing them in through here, right? This is a processing center. If they're just rolling up with regular trucks and unloading, then they're moving supplies, right? So, okay, back up here. So now we're going to go over to the Maxwell bird real fast. Now this, it's en route currently, headed down to, it actually landed in Puerto Rico a little while ago, and it's already headed back to Miami. But notice it's not going to Miami International, it's going to Opelika Executive. And so we'll have to watch this one and see what it does. But I'm going to take a closer look over here at Opelika after the show, just to see if we've got any kind of continuity of events going on, if there's others coming through. So certainly something happening here at this airport, okay? Just based on the stuff that we've seen come out of Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, over to here in the last, earlier this month. And then, of course, it was down on yesterday. It was in Daytona Beach. Then it went to out here to one of the Virgin Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands. Then from there back over to San Juan, and now back over here to OPF. So, okay, again, that's an agency bird, folks. So they use them all the time. All right, live Phoenix birds. Now I will tell you, we'll get through the Phoenix bird stuff here pretty quickly because they don't have anything really active flying right now. Everything is just kind of pre-positioned. This one right here is one of our normal flights. It's just going to come out of Laguna. It's headed over to China Lake. And that's going to be like engineers or contractors that are flying from here. They live out here because there's nothing out here. And so what they do is they just fly them back and forth every day. So it's kind of, think of it like an Uber, all right? And so they go there and then they come out here to these little islands, and that's how they work and get back and forth. So, okay, over to the spa, aka Guantanamo Bay. All right, so not too much on the board. If I look at the arrivals, we've got this that came in yesterday. Actually, sorry, this morning. Forget what day it is. Tuesday. Yeah, all right, remind me. But this came in this morning about 9:18 as an arrival, and that's going to probably be your legal Eagles. And then we don't have anything on the en route or scheduled. And then as we look at departures, same thing. That thing just basically dropped them off and probably took some people back. And so again, Ubers, that's all they are. They're just Ubering people back and forth. Air Uber, I guess, is what that would be. So, and then everything else looks pretty normal except for that Phoenix jet right here that came in last Thursday out of DC, and it looked like it dropped someone off on Monday, picked them up on Thursday. So that is Guantanamo Bay. And we get over here to XPL Honduras. Nothing has really changed. This is last Thursday, and we had this helo activity. These are also helos. Little EC-35 is a Eurocopter, and that's a B-407, which is a Bell helicopter. And that one right there is also operated by, now we've looked at this one in the past, and that's that Colonel Science LLC. No idea anything about that. Probably a shell company if I had to guess. But these guys are certainly operating in the area, okay? And the helicopter is probably the best way to get around because you don't have a lot of runways out here. So with the helo, you can land with very little space, okay? All right, over to our Department of No Justice. N721AL, they've got a team currently down in Lauderdale. It looks like that bird dropped some people off and flew back to DC last Friday. And my guess is that team is still remaining down here. And don't know what they're doing. Just know they're down there. And if we look at, this is going to be your AG. So this is the bar replacement. And looks like he was down in Atlanta last Friday and flew back to DC, and he is still up in DC, so he hasn't flown anywhere else, but he was down here at in the big ATL. All right, now let's take a quick look. I'm going to get into the spy stuff here in just a second. I'm going to bounce over. That's not the one I wanted. Let's get over here to this one first. This is going to be Ukraine and the Middle East, and we're going to look at the map for OpenADSB here as well. But you'll notice, again, big hole right there, no air traffic. And they're all going around. And so that's because this is still a hot area. So just remember that when you're looking at media reports, that there's standing down going on, things like that. That would tell you otherwise, okay? And also yesterday we were looking at a Q4 drone that actually rolled right up here into the Black Sea, did a little bit of recon in this general area, and rolled back out. And sorry, Black Sea is right here. But came into here, basically just rolled right into the Ukraine, did a bunch of surveillance grabs, and then left. Now you can see as I back out how obvious the hole is right here. That it's definitely going to be a watch area, okay? So probably pretty hot. And it looks like over here is also kind of a hole they're not flying in. So, but that for sure, and that's your border. And that's definitely a hot area, I would imagine. So, okay, now we look at the Middle East and what we've got going on. Now I put persistence on because I had a bunch of stuff going on I wanted to keep. And so you can see right now we've got a whole bunch of C-130s up. That's Budapest, so this is over in Hungary. And we've got, let me see who these belong to. So that's U.S. Air Force, military. Looks like they are, got a 4, 5, 6 ship here. So that one's hiding something. Let me just double check. And maybe it's only 4. Yeah, all right. So we got a 4 ship rolling across the area. here, actually 5 ships, sorry. Gotta learn to count. Typically when you see these, I will tell you that the gaps aren't as big as the gaps may appear, that there are usually other aircraft in here that are not seen in here. So that could actually be, you could have a dozen C-130s rolling across here and you're only going to see a handful of them, okay? Sometimes they'll only show front ship, sometimes they'll show front and back, but I would be willing to guess that there are a lot more right here than what we're really seeing, okay? Now where they're heading, I have no idea. And looks like they actually just took off out of that general area. So they're just now getting airborne and up and headed into Romania. We'll see. Maybe they continue on. But again, this is that's your Black Sea. And so you've got them heading that general direction. And so this is the area that Russia told us to stay out of, just FYI. And we actually vacated last I saw. But this is also the area where the UK is now starting to roll in with their assets because UK doesn't, they're not scared of it. So they're going for it. Go big or go home, right? So, all right. Now, here's what I want to talk about. We're going to get into this whole FBI surveillance thing. I'm going to kind of go through a couple items. We do a little recap because I want to make sure everybody's kind of caught up because maybe not everybody saw the last SITREP. Or the latest one that was posted out last week. But the FBI in general has shell companies, right? And so there's been these articles that talk about how they've got a sea of spy planes and they are in abundance, probably as big as any airline out there, okay? Now, what they're doing is, and they're not just one type of aircraft. They're flying all over the place. They're Cessna 172s. They're using these other aircraft that we're looking at now. That it's everything military. They're all over the board. For the FBI though, they're using mainly civilian aircraft and helicopters. Okay, now this is kind of the quintessential thing you're looking for. So if you're on a map and you see that kind of activity going on, that actually is in 557PG is that's an FBI registered aircraft, okay? Most of them are not. Most of them are under shell companies, and so you can't tell who they belong to. But when you see this going on, and they're flying circles around for hours, now this was done in 2018 during the Trump administration. They were basically flying around the White House, which is in here, gathering cell data and cell tower data. And I'll show you the type of data they can grab. And they can push data, okay? So when we were talking yesterday about these, the 503s, and we said that how the government is basically, they went through this process and it was all just a complete scam, and how nobody's homie Comey, admitted the fact that they were basically, the court basically approved them, not knowing the full story behind them, okay? Well, the reason they put the 503s through, because they have to have those to spy legally on U.S. citizens, but especially a president, okay, or someone that's coming in as president. And so they wanted to cover their bases. I will tell you that they do not get 503s for the activity they're doing right now, all right? And so that program is that uses a DRT, or what they call a dirt box. It's called Data Intercept Technology Unit, so DITU. And that is one of their highly secretive divisions of the FBI, all right? And so these guys are basically just spying on the U.S., on a regular basis. They have over 100 aircraft. They're all under shell companies, so they don't say FBI. But that is the type of things that they're doing. And now I will tell you, too, there's other names for things that they are like, they don't just have like one type. It's not just Stingray and Dirtbox. There's a ton of different stuff. One of the things I want to point out, and the reason we're looking at this one right here, is you see the RC-135 rivet joint. Those, when we're looking at those, that is, that's the aircraft that we've been watching pretty closely when it comes to the U.S. and some of the activity that they've been doing over the United States. So we've seen them all the way down in Palm Beach. And we always talk about how their surveillance is it's unmatched. I mean, they are, when you start talking about the military, you start talking about their capabilities, I will tell you that it's better than what we are actually seeing or what we're told, okay? There's always a lag when it comes to that stuff, and you don't always get all the full skinny on what they really have and what they're operating. But when you see them out there, you just know that these guys are definitely out grabbing data, okay? And so I'll give you an example as we look over here at our board right now. This is going to be an RC-135 flying by the name, call sign Topcat 12. This is kind of a normal area for them to operate out of, but when you see them running the tracks like this, okay, and these round, slow, long tracks, they're gathering data easily. And everything that's in this swath right here, they are able to get data from. Now, when I show you the kind of data that they're grabbing, that's going to kind of get your attention, because it's not, you know, you think, oh, they're just grabbing cell phone identity stuff, right? Like, you know, user numbers and things like that, and they're running it through. But no, it goes way, way, way beyond that. And so, for example, and I'll just kind of give you how this thing works, but this is another set of, so we've got Sandbox, we have Stingray, we have Juggernaut, which is a cell phone network intercept system. And then we have this called a G-Box, which is a Jaruda, which is an airborne geolocation system. So not only can they gather and intercept your data, they can also pinpoint you down to, you know, a stone's throw away from where your actual location is, okay? So remember that. And when they fly over, they're not grabbing onesie twosies. They're grabbing everything that's in there. So if there's a bad guy in the mix and you happen to be in the region, they're pulling your data too, okay? Because they're not that surgical where they're going to be able to just grab his. I mean, they are, but more than likely they're just doing a giant data grab, okay? And so here's some of the things you have to keep in mind. Now this is after talking with an expert that actually ran a DRT program and was part of the intelligence community for a long time and knows this stuff, okay? And so so the data grab, so you got Dirtbox, which is, it can pull data within 20 miles. So that's from an aircraft location, okay? But you can also do it, they've done it from a vehicle on ground with, you know, at about 26 kilometers maximum was about as far as they could ever go, okay? But your Stingray, you've got, if they are flying directly over a cell tower, the data can be pulled from anyone connected to that local area cell. You could literally dox everybody right now doing the audit. That's what I was told. So anybody that's got a cell phone that's not, whether it's on or not, doesn't matter. If they're doing that work at the audit, they're in that building, they can dox them by just, they'll know everything they've got, all their numbers and all their data, okay? In essence, anything that's transmitted with a signal can be gathered, okay? From the air, what happens is the aircraft is what they call man in the middle, and it mocks one of the cell towers to collect data. And from the ground, you could have a vehicle parked outside of any location that could pull that same data, but they have to be a little closer. But you can see it's even capable within, using a dirt box within 20 miles even on the ground, which is insane, okay? So Bluff, which is bottom line up front, any information that's passed wirelessly can be collected and transmitted in real time to data centers where there are hundreds of analysts on the ground sifting through the intel immediately. So that's real time live. So when they're flying that pattern like I just showed, and you know, and we'll just look, I'll give you kind of a well, here, before I go to that, let me just show you this. Stingray, all right? This is why it's important before I get to this final thing here that I just kind of want to walk you through, because I want everybody to really understand what it is that they can do and what they're capable of. It's not just a matter of gathering and collecting your data. They have the ability to send, so they can intercept calls and internet traffic. They can send fake texts, locate the devices, and inject malware. Typically, spyware and mobile rat, they allow to gain full control over the victim's device and exfiltrate the data. So they can basically take over your phone, your laptop, your iPad, whatever it may be. If it's transmitting, they can grab data, they can push data. So if they decide they want to blackmail somebody, and they could load, you know, kiddie porn onto your device, you would never know, okay, until they knock on your door and tell you that you're being investigated for that, and then they pull all your stuff, and then they reveal it, and now they've just basically blackmailed you, and you're in deep doo-doo. So that's the capabilities that these things have. So when you've got a government that's running these kind of programs that are out doing this kind of thing, we should all be eyes on and concerned, okay? Because I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. I know you guys don't either. And that's the kind of capability that they have, okay? Now, let's just look real fast. These are pictures that have been grabbed from the activity that's going on over the Arizona Audit area, okay? Now, I will tell you, the Arizona Audit is over here closer to the airport. You see this Phoenix thing. It's kind of right in that general area, right kind of to the left of the word Phoenix, just barely a little bit above that by the I-10 corridor there. Now, remember, 20 miles. So when you see this aircraft that's out flying around, doing that work, if they're within 20 miles, they can do every bit of what I just showed you. They can gather data. They can real-time send it to a data center to be processed and analyzed. And they can also push data, okay? So when we start looking at how this is potentially a very bad situation. Let me pull this up real fast. Hang on, that's not the one I wanted. This is what happens when you have too many things opened up. And it's not there. All right. So I actually had a map up there that showed the distance from Arizona. So if you look at that map that I just showed from Phoenix, Arizona, which is here, up to Glendale, it's about 8.4 miles from that location to where that aircraft is flying. So it's well within the range of actually being able to do anything. And if you overlay that with the cell tower information that we were showing earlier the other day, you can see these are the cell towers. That's that hot spot right there with all the red is Phoenix, and these are the cell towers. Now, if you notice in between where it's Phoenix up to Glendale, there's that little gap. There's not a lot of cell tower in there. It doesn't matter. These guys are flying directly over all these cell towers, and if they're within 20 miles of anything, they can basically grab in any direction. And so that's pretty important to note there. Okay. Now, this is a story off of BuzzFeed, and this is not, like I said, this is not new. They're not just all of a sudden started doing this. Back in around 2014-15 was when they started actually publishing articles around our government kind of being out of control and having this fleet of aircraft that are spying on people, okay? And so this is a BuzzFeed article from 2015, and it just talks about how the FBI are watching from above and how they're doing it pretty regularly, okay? Now, they do reference Flight Radar 24 for flight tracking, things like that. You guys are already on that. That's nothing new. Back then, it would have been, because not a lot of people were doing what we do today, okay? But if you look at this, now this is a high-level view, 2015, just the activity, everything you see, all the reds, the blues, these are FBI planes doing active surveillance on that map, okay? So now I'm going to just zoom in to DC, just because I want to show you kind of a close-up so you get a really good feel of what those red blotches are as we look at this, okay? And so every one of those circles that you can see right there, that's an aircraft doing surveillance, gathering data, flying over an area in real time. So that's DC, okay? And so 820, so that starts in August of 2015, but those are live routes. You can see them. They're just flying around. Every single one of those circles are FBI grabbing data. So I don't know who was in this general area right here, but they were lighting them up, okay? And so that's a plane circling for a long time. And when that's flying, again, the data that they're gathering is, it's not just cell phone numbers and locations and your name and stuff like that. They're gathering anything that's on that smart device, okay, real time, and they're extracting it. And so it could be your buying history, where you shop, how much you buy, who your friends are, all your text and messages, anything you post on social media, any kind of data. They know more about you than you know. It's all being grabbed when they do that. Okay. And then they also have the ability, like I was saying, to push data. So if they wanted to just inject something into your phone, they could easily do that, and you have no ability to stop it. Okay, so if they decide they want to send something that incriminates you that you didn't do, they can do that through Stingray. That capability is there. And then next thing you know, somebody's knocking on your door. They're going to come in with a warrant, take all your devices, and then go to their forensics folks and do that discovery. They already know it's there because they planted it. So I think that's what's going on with how people are being blackmailed. I think that they're basically, they show them as compromised, and then cooperate with us, or this is going to be released. And so, not to say that these people aren't already seedy in DC and everywhere else around the world, but this is think about that. This is your highest level of, it's a Federal Bureau of Investigation. It's like CIA stuff. Of course, CIA is doing it here and abroad, right? But for them to be able to do that, there's nothing secret. And this is 2015, so technology's only gotten better. And so when they're doing that circling, it's automatically being uploaded to a data center that have hundreds of analysts that are scrubbing that data and looking for information. And you don't even know what's going on. And so that's what I was talking about with Trump being in the office with the 503s. This is how they were grabbing his data. It wasn't the old Richard Nixon landline of, with a tape recorder running and they're recording him saying stuff. It's off of mobile phones and devices and laptops and anything else that's being transmitted that goes into, that leaves one location and goes to another. It's right there. So if you think the voting can't be compromised from this also, there is no doubt in my mind, given the capabilities, right, with the cyber attacks and all the other stuff. So, okay, deep breath. I think that kind of gives you the general idea. I just wanted to show you, as we looked at the location in Arizona, and as they start to do other audits around the U.S., why we all need to be watching and paying attention to this, because we could also be bamboozled just like we were through the other stuff, through this stuff. Okay. All right. So that said, I think that is going to basically close us out for today. I will continue to dig in to all this other spy data and see if we see anything new and live. When you're watching the aircraft, if you see something that's doing that circling that I showed you, and you see them just over and over and over, capture that tail number, make note of it, and just start watching it. And willing to bet it doesn't say FBI on it. It's going to take you to some shell company, but that's going to be probably one of your spy planes grabbing data and extracting it. So, all right, that's going to be it. So, without further ado, monkeys, if you guys will hang tight in the chat, I'm going to send us off, and I'll be with you guys. For everybody else, God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear at monkeywerxus.com.